Hey guys, Raphael here of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Did you say podcast? Dudes, dudettes! You're listening to a podcast on the Geekcast Radio Network. Cowabunga!
Hello and welcome to Altered Geek Unplugged. I'm your host, coming back after a long absence, Michael Powers. I'm joined by the man that has kept the show running, Steve Megatron Phillips.
Hello!
And I think for the first or second time, this might be his third time, but the second time he was on the show, he was absent his voice. The ever wonderful Art Danner.
I was ethereal more so last time. I was there, but I just wasn't. I mean, if you were on a certain, spectral length, you would have been able to hear me.
We all heard you.
Dead people heard me. Dogs, too. That was about it, though.
I chose to go with the Altered Geek Unplugged instead of the Unlimited this time, Steve, because I feel like after the conversations we've had over the last week and mainly today, that we should distill it back to what the show originally was, which is just kind of us jiving back and forth about geek topics, not so much the end-all be-all place for geek news and whatnot, but more so just our opinions on that stuff. And I felt like, Unplugged, kind of like, going back to when MTV actually played music and they had, MTV Unplugged. A little deeper, richer vibe going on with this episode. See if we can drum up some interest for it from the listeners.
Way to date yourself by talking about when MTV used to play music.
Yeah, well, sorry. How many MTV channels are there now that don't play music?
Aren't they all MTV channels?
Aren't they all wannabe reality channels?
Hey, it's scripted reality now. Isn't that the thing? It'd be Duck Dynasty. Not that I've ever seen it. I just know it's a bunch of hillbillies with beards. That's what I know.
Thanks, MTV, for making everyone stupid.
I already got a bone to pick with MTV. Okay, not to get off tangent right now, but we just signed up for Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And which awesome. Number one, highly recommend it. But of course, the first thing my wife finds, my wife's a reality TV junkie, and the first thing she goes to is 16 and Pregnant, and which is a show I can't watch. It physically makes me sick to my stomach because number one, every single one of these girls are idiots. And they honestly think a 16-year-old boy is going to stick around after they knock you up. And wow, just it's like a Greek tragedy without any redeeming factors or entertainment value whatsoever. It's just sad. It's really, really sad. It depresses me. And due to the fact that we have a 4-year-old daughter, and the pure fear of seeing that something like that could possibly ever happen, even though due to the fact that unlike most of the people's parents on the show, I'm actually present and care about what my kids do. So, it's like a freaking horror show every single time I gotta watch it. I wish my wife had taste in TV.
So you went into the dark side of Amazon Prime. What do you like about Amazon Prime?
The free 2-day shipping.
Have you had fun with that yet? When we first got it, I ordered like a $5 thing and had it shipped over for 1-day shipping.
I ordered a PS Vita cradle charger for my Vita.
Okay.
For no reason whatsoever. I've been having charging issues with it, so I bought a new charge cable and a cradle for it, just because I like the idea of just having a place to just set it and it charges while I'm not using it.
It has a home.
It has a home. It has a place now in my living room. until my kids get a hold of it. And
I was
then
going to say,
find it, hide it, and lose it.
Is it out of reach of the children?
Is anything ever out of reach of the children anymore?
I don't know. I don't have them.
I found grating on top of the refrigerator yesterday. The answer is no. Nothing is out of reach of the children. When they want something, they will find it. It just gets to that point. There's no saving your crap at all. Nothing sacred, especially the bathroom. When you have children, you'll never have an alone time in the bathroom ever again.
Well, Steve, you've got a child. Do you have anything to say to this?
It's caution.
I will agree with the bathroom aspect. You can't leave them alone. I have a 17-month-old son, and I can't leave him alone for 2 seconds because Lord knows what he'll get into.
What's the strangest place you've ever found?
Behind my couch.
Oh.
Peeking out from the side with an arm grabbing me.
Was he mocking one of the cats?
No. He figured out one day he could go behind the couch, and all of a sudden this hand is reaching around, grabbing the remote from behind me.
Did you feel
off
like
the table?
Did you feel like Dana in Ghostbusters?
And then he sits down behind the couch, and then he just laughs at me. And I'm like, you little bastard. But obviously I don't say that to him because I don't want him learning that word. But he...
oh, they will.
Oh, I know. He'll hear it somewhere. Probably at my in-laws. But he pops up in some of the weird places and manages to hide things that you wouldn't think that he'd be able to get to, because he's learned he can climb furniture and sit on top of the kitchen table.
If only it ended there.
Oh.
Yeah, I know I have a long way to go, but I'm more so concerned with him breaking my Xbox. He hasn't made it that far yet because I unplug it, but he likes to turn on the button and have it go and have the light pop on.
So far, I was going to say, I haven't lost many electronics to kids. 22-inch flat screen TV, Graydon stepped on and cracked the screen. To be honest, I got it for free, so I wasn't all that broken up about it. But I was going to say, I haven't lost... No, that's a lot. I've lost a few PS3 controllers.
Well, you've trained your kids to swap discs for you.
Yes.
Which I commend you on.
I mean, if they're going to take interest in it, you might as well teach them how to use it and then fully take advantage of it. I mean, it's pretty much the, dream of having a monkey butler, but not quite the monkey part.
Do you have them fetching you beverages yet?
Oh, Xander gets me beers. Not necessarily when I want one. I mean, literally 3 seconds after I've opened one, he's there with another beer, waving it in my face. I was like, too soon.
So he's like Jason.
Yeah, the timing's not quite there yet. But, I mean, right now I'm trying to teach Graydon that, he can get his own water. He doesn't need to get... I don't need to get him drinks when every single faucet in the house produces the same result and he can reach most of them. So
my son is smart. He likes to, not saying your son isn't, but it just kind of sounded funny how I worded that.
Wait a second.
He'll come over and he'll want food or drinks from whoever has it, and he will save his purposely for when you're out. So that he could sit there and stare at you with this sly grin, like, I've just taken everything you have, and I still have my own stuff. So
that's the next 18 years of your life, Steve.
Yep.
Yes, I know. I'm screwed.
I was going to say, my kids are notorious for, I've made everybody dinner. I've gotten everything they could possibly want. And the moment Dad sits down and I take my first bite of food, they're like, "Oh, I'm out of something to drink. Can you get that for me?" It's like, "No, you can wait. You wait until I get up again."
All right, I have to ask, and not to make this the podcast about everyone's children, but your on Facebook the other day you made the comment about sibling rivalry starting.
Yep.
Um, so what is brewing?
The Noel has learned how to get under Graydon's skin. I'm trying to remember what happened. It was the other day. Noel, it was bedtime, and Graydon was like, "I'm hungry." I was like, "You've already eaten, and it's time to go to sleep." Well, I don't want to go to sleep, dude. It's time for you to go to sleep. And I look at Noelle. I was like, "It's time for you to go to sleep too." And then she just looks at me, gives me this grin I've never seen before. It goes, "Okay, Dad," and then jumps up and starts going upstairs. And I say, "And look at your sister. She does what she's asked to do." And then she turns around and just gives this look to Graydon, like, "Ha ha ha ha." And then Graydon got pissed and just started whining and crying. And I was like, "Dude, go to bed. Your sister's got the right idea." And of course, in pure fashion of the rivalry starting, we stormed upstairs, passed his sister in the hallway, and then punched her in the back. While Noel continued to laugh at him.
Her. Good for her.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the harmony is starting to fall apart here. There's
brother's
discord.
My brother's kid, who his disposition is just like my brother. Like my nephew's disposition is the same, just like my son is pretty much like me. My mom babysits both of them throughout the week, and some days they're hanging out together. And in this case, my nephew is 3, and my son's half his age. So, my nephew used to mess with my son and kind of push him and knock him over and everything. My son has these arms of steel. He just sticks out like you would do to someone shorter than you, sticking your hand on their forehead and just extending your arm. My son does that with his chest, and he'll keep playing with his toys with the other hand and hold his cousin off. And then when his cousin gets obnoxious, my son just floors him and then goes right back to what he was doing.
Nice.
And thinks nothing's wrong. Like, just, nope, that's business as usual. And we're having to teach him, no, that's not right. It's funny, but it's not right.
All right. So, let's see. Steve, do you want to go first with what you've been doing like the last week? I mean, I'm assuming over the last few Altered Geeks, there's been a lot of news discussion about award shows and this, that, and the other thing. And
yeah,
we're not going to do that this week.
No.
So, besides all that stuff, what have you been up to, Steve?
I've been temporarily putting the website in maintenance mode constantly. I'm working on the new site in the background. I mean, I have like beta copies that I'm playing around with, but I am trying to get the settings into the database with the new theme so that when it comes time, I can just launch it. More or less because I'm testing out the bugs with the live site, but I don't want anybody to play around with it yet until I get the bugs worked out. Plus, I'm not sure what my internet situation is going to be around that time because I'm in the process of buying a house.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm not sure when my internet is going to be on and when I'm getting my keys and when I'm moving. So I'm trying to prep things so that should the need arise where I'm not around, I can just publish it and have it ready.
Okay. So, well, how about the process of buying your house? You want to?
Oh, that's been a nightmare. Well, we started looking at the house. I think it's almost 2 weeks now. We looked at it on a Saturday. We put in a bid. We got counter bid on the next day. We accepted the counter bid. Seller went out of town for a day. The real estate agent was a douchebag.
It's amazing that most of them are.
Yeah, well, this one doesn't answer phone calls. They only do email, apparently. And my realtor will call or text or email. Like, he does whatever happens to be the most convenient for that set of time. Like, if he knows we're at work, he'll text. Or if it's something late in the evening, he'll email. Or if it's something urgent, he'll call.
So it sounds like you have a good realtor, but the seller does not.
Yeah, he kind of got screwed. But so we looked at this house. It's about 20 minutes from where I live now. Nice 4-bedroom, 1,600 square foot. I would get my own office, so I wouldn't have the humming of a furnace or air conditioner in the background year round. Hey, I'm excited. I'll have clean audio for once. It'll be the first time since my old place. So yeah, I mean, there's that. And then they were out of town, so what happened is they didn't sign their counter to mine. And then they decided, oh, we don't want to do 6%. We want to do 3% now of the concession. So then that had to go on the hold, and we were waiting on that for a while. And then we had to sign a bunch of crap paperwork, and then more crap paperwork with the mortgage thing, and then we had to do the inspection.
How'd that
after
go?
they
Those are
signed
fun.
everything. Yeah, well, this one was actually not too bad because most of the stuff is pretty cheap that I can fix myself, and the few things that they flagged the seller fixed.
Okay.
But it's also got that, I don't know if you're familiar with the radon tests. I know this is like Greek to people that don't own a house, but
well, we
and
both.
the radon thing may be Greek to everybody because I'd never heard of it before doing this inspection.
I'm not familiar with it either.
It's
I don't
some kind of a
remember it.
natural gas that comes out of the ground.
Uh,
And I guess from what I've heard, because it comes through into your basement, the lowest part of your house, because it only hangs at the lowest levels, it doesn't go any higher than the basement. It can cause lung cancer if it's over a certain point value.
Okay.
Anything over a 4 point is dangerous, and they want you to get this system put in that filters the air in the basement and sucks the gas out. And the system's like $800 in the last 10 years. Well, we got the seller to verbally agree to it. So currently we're waiting to see if he's actually going to sign for it.
So
but
basically, you
otherwise-
failed your radon test,
Yeah.
and the
it
seller
was
has lung
4.1.
cancer.
I don't know if the seller does. Their parents that owned the house prior may have.
They didn't die in the house, did they?
I don't know if they died in the house, but they died last year. So, as morbid as that sounds,
so there's a good chance.
that's almost what I was thinking, but I didn't want to
Don't they
be.
have to discose that?
I don't
They do.
know if it was there or if I just know that they passed away last year. And that's why Blanchard's been posting, don't screw with Steve, because I found out the life story. So, I'm not getting into how I did that either, but, so yeah, I found out all that. And then anyways, during the inspection and everything, we actually met the seller, which was kind of awkward because his realtor told him that we were doing an inspection at 9:00 and didn't tell him he didn't need to be there or how long it would take.
Oh, nice.
So he was just camped out, kind of pissed off, and he's like, I hate my realtor. She's a dumbass. And we were just sitting there like, okay. We're like, hopefully he leaves. But I mean, everything else went okay. And then, of course, it's going to be a mess when I get in there because there's certain things that were ghetto rigged that are cheap fixes, but I'm going to have to do them. And then their cable line is an insane gargantuan mess that's been daisy chained through multiple connectors.
Ooh.
Yay!
So what I'm going to do is when I sign up for Comcast again over there, I'm going to pay for that little cable line guard thing that they basically anything goes wrong with the lines, they come out and do the work.
Okay.
So I'm going to have them rewire all my cable in my house because they will do that under that cheap policy.
I was gonna say before they get there, just rip out all the cable that's there, and they'll have to install new stuff anyways.
Why would I do that when I can make them do it while they're there?
Yeah.
Because then they can tell me if some of it's garbage or not. So yeah, I get to do that too. So I'm dreading the fact that I'm probably going to go like 2-3 weeks without a computer that gets online. So it's going to make me sad.
How will
I
you
don't
ever
think it'll
live?
be that bad. I don't think it'll be that long. I should say.
I don't think it'll be that long because I'm going to get stir crazy after we get unpacked.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure that's one of the first things I had set up the moment we bought our house. was
I have this
Comcast.
insane ritual, and I don't know if you guys have something when you whenever you've moved, but I've moved so many times. I think I've moved 8 times in the last 10 years.
Ugh.
Well, yeah. First time was from my mom's to an apartment, from the apartment to my dad's to another apartment to a trailer to a town or condo to a townhouse where I'm at now, and then it will be to this house. So I've had my fill of moves. I'm sick of it. But the first thing I always set up is my entertainment center with all of my stuff on it and my desk.
Yeah, that's about what I do. But at the same time, I also have internet, or at least internet already scheduled for installation within a couple of days after I've been in the home.
Oh, I'm sure I'll do that as well.
I remember when I moved in here, I had scheduled for Uverse to come out and install their whole thing, and the day that they were supposed to come out, it had snowed a whole lot, and the guy couldn't pull into my driveway, and so they had to reschedule the installation. The problem is that my wife was still in college, and she was doing like online courses, so she needed the internet really badly. So I actually called up AT&T, the cellular side of AT&T, and I had them turn the tethering on our phones so that she could do her online classes and then give us the unlimited data back when we were done using it.
Well, that's nice.
I think one of the reasons they only did it is because I asked nicely, and because we were scheduled to have AT&T internet installed in our home, and we just weren't able to get it, so they gave us the tethering for a weekend.
Well, that's nice.
Which was really cool, because it was after they'd gotten rid of their their unlimited data plans, and if you changed your plan at all, you lost that unlimited data. But she needed the homework, so I called them up and said, "Hey, this is what's going on. I've got AT&T scheduled to come out here, but they couldn't install it today because we just had a really bad snowstorm, and she's got schoolwork she's got to do. Can you just enable the tethering for her phone for the weekend, for the next 3 days so she can do it?" And sure enough, they did it. I mean, they had to escalate it to 2 or 3 guys above the person that you talked to on the phone so that they could turn the unlimited data back on. But they did it. No muss, no fuss. I mean, it was really nice of them.
Wow.
But yeah, that's one of the first things I do too, is the whole, get my entertainment center, unpacked. And one of the things I actually did is after I learned about one of my favorite websites, Monoprice, I bought color-coded cables for all of my stuff. So anything blue, any blue cable, blue Ethernet cables, blue HDMI cables, anything blue belonged to my PlayStation. Anything green went to my 360, and anything red went from my receiver to my TV. So it was really easy for me to just get everything out and get it all hooked up and go. No searching for where's that cable? So, but I haven't had to do that in 2 years. So
That's got to be nice.
did you have any rituals, Danner?
No, I've been in my house for 10 years now.
Okay, but before that.
I was a college student. Here's my box of shit. It's packed now. Move box of shit over to new location. Now I'm here for a year. Sick of these roommates. Pack box of shit up. Move to new location.
See, but I guess even in college, I was the entertainment guy. So I was bringing my game consoles and my TV and stuff like that around with me.
Okay, I was kind of my own personal entertainment guy because I was more concerned about me than everybody else. So I would say the first thing I did was bring the bookshelf in and then alphabetize my DVDs after I got my TV and my DVD player hooked up. And alphabetized DVDs while watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think that was pretty much my moving ritual for at least 3 moves. And then after everything's set up, and then you take the tube of posters, and then I didn't like having a room. I like having something where it felt like you fell into a hole in the ground. So I would take posters and actually put them on every open piece of white wall and ceiling, and just plaster the entire room with posters until you couldn't see wall anymore.
See, now I never did any of that stuff. Whenever I moved, like even in college and when I was doing the whole apartment thing, you sign like a year-long lease, and I was never motivated enough to put anything up. Like no pictures, no posters, no like nothing, because it's like, oh, it's all gonna have to come down. I don't even want to bother putting it up.
My thing was if I couldn't have a space that was my own that I wasn't completely comfortable in, then what was the point of having a space?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't like comfortable. I just never felt like going that extra mile to like hang anything on the walls.
Oh, I have a glass jar just filled with tacks that I still have to this day that literally were when I tacked everything into my walls. I remember every moving day ritual was pulling the tacks out of the wall, seeing all the holes in the wall, and in order to get my security deposit back, I would take a tube of toothpaste.
I was just going to ask if it was toothpaste.
It smelled minty fresh afterwards, but all the holes were filled in the walls.
Oh, man.
Life hack.
So I think we'll take a break. And when we come back on the other side, we'll find out what Dan
Touching penises is like?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. That's a different podcast. I apologize.
Ah, brave new world that has such putzes in it. You know, kids, a lot has changed while your old Uncle Joker's been away. New Gotham, new rules, even a new Batman.
It isn't 65 years in the future, but Legends of the Dark Knight has gone beyond. Batman Beyond, that is.
The new boy. Ears are too long and I miss the cape, but not too shabby. Not too shabby at all.
Join Steve and Mike as they delve into the remaining episodes of the podcast, where they'll cover Batman Beyond, products, games, and more. Check it out only on GeekCastRadio.com.
And we're back on the other side of whatever ad Steve thought was good enough to go there.
We have ads?
Or whatever Steve decided to put in that blank spot. We're going to find out what Danner has been doing since he went on the other side of the veil when he's not getting mad at me on Wednesday nights. So what have you been up to, Danner? What's like the new hotness in your life?
Man.
You didn't come prepared.
I didn't. Sorry. I'm trying to pinpoint it down. I've been playing the crap out of Infamous Second Son on PlayStation 4. That's pretty much what has been the thing that I unwind to recently. I've also been watching The League on Amazon Prime Instant Video, which that show's awesome.
Isn't The League on Netflix too?
Probably, but I've been watching it on pretty much when I have like 20 minutes or I have to put a kid to bed or something like that. I I'll watch it on my phone, or if the kids have been watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse on the TV, I'll just grab Janelle's iPad when she's not home and watch it on that. And just been plowing through the first 3 seasons of that.
It's so good.
It is so good, so funny. Besides that, just
Have you tried Justified yet?
I haven't. I've been building. I fell into the hole of the league, and after I get through the league, which I'm about to finish season 3, so I only have season 4 and 5 to go. I'll probably get to Justified after that.
Fair enough. At least it's the league and not something stupid.
We started rewatching Orphan Black also, because that show is amazing, and it's on Amazon Instant Video.
Yep. Did you? Okay. I don't know if you. I don't know how many episodes you may have watched of this show, but or Steve, I don't know if you've seen Orphan Black or any of that.
Nope, never seen it.
From what I remember of The Ringer, like Orphan Black makes me think of The Ringer. That
Never
was
watched
like
The Ringer.
Okay, because I watched,
downloaded the season to watch it, and then the moment it got canceled, I go, nah, not gonna waste my time, and I deleted it.
I watched the first episode of The Ringer, and I didn't really care for it, but I feel like, I think Orphan Black has more sci-fi elements than The Ringer did.
Yeah.
But right off the bat, it's just a much better show anyways.
Well, most BBC shows are, so.
Superior to the American
Yes.
programming, I will agree with you.
Because they don't feel forced to do 22 to 24 episodes in the season.
Well, I also think that it's because American writers are lazy.
Well,
I'm not saying that they're bad or that they're all, but I'm saying like American television. I personally, I have a hard time getting into anything that's on BBC.
I think it might be more the fact that American writers or just the American, I don't know if you could really, can you blame it solely on the FCC? But I think it's just that Americans are prudes.
Yeah.
More so
I could see that.
The Brits are, so they can't really, the programming, like BBC programming seems more real, I guess.
Well, I was going to say also the BBC programming seems a little more in line with the model that Showtime and HBO tend to take with things. And to a lesser extent also A&E.
Which is what?
Which is the shorter season run, where the seasons focus more on
the story.
A story instead of we're going to send you for 24 episodes and a lot of it's going to be fluff.
Well,
or like, let's see, examples of shows that were kind of like that were Burn Notice, which you could watch the last 5 minutes of every single episode and get the main story arc for the entire season, because everything else is nonsensical in the episode. It's just a one-off storyline in the last 5 minutes, something that actual to the main overarching plot happens.
Yep, but that doesn't mean, but that show is still good.
No, fun. Don't get me wrong. I'm not crapping all over.
We're talking about
that was just the formula of the show.
You're talking about the Monster of the Week stuff, basically. That most 22 to 24 episode stuff comes into. But like, FX has that same MO, and even Sci-Fi has that same MO with the 12 to 15 episode seasons.
Yeah.
So I think Sci-Fi has, with Eureka and Warehouse 13, I think they borrowed a lot from like BBC Sci-Fi.
I miss Eureka already.
I miss Warehouse 13.
There's still one more season left.
I know, but it's like short. It's like only like 8 episodes or something like that.
At least they're gonna finish it.
Yeah.
Unlike alphas. Sons of bitches.
Sons of bitches.
It's still not fair. I like that show a lot, and it's your fault. You're the one who got me into it. You should try this because you liked Heroes. And then I get into it and start watching it, and it's better than Heroes, and then it gets canceled on a goddamn cliffhanger.
Are you happy that Heroes is coming back?
No.
Okay.
Prefer if they'd be like, it's Heroes, but it's called Alphas 2.
Alphas 2.0.
Alphas 2.0. Fuck Heroes. Alphas was a superior show.
Yeah, it was.
No stupid
I'm actually
cheerleaders.
surprised that Heroes is coming back.
We're all surprised that Heroes is coming.
Well, I mean, I liked the show until it started jumping the shark and kind of eating itself from within.
I liked the first season and the last season. It was all season 2 was a train wreck.
I felt like Heroes was there was like 2 years there where TV programming, it was like from 2004 to like 2004, 2005, 2006. There were a lot of TV shows that came out like Heroes, like Lost, like Desperate Housewives and stuff like that. A lot of those things, like the premise is like, how does this go for more than one season?
Prison Break.
Yeah, like how do these shows last for more than one season? And I think a lot of them could have been served pretty well by being like one season. But don't get me wrong, I like Lost from beginning to end. But
I think that's another thing with BBC shows was the fact that they're not afraid to do a season, and if they don't have anything more to say about it, they'll leave it alone for like 3 years and then come back and then do something.
Or they will. We've had this conversation. I think we've even had this conversation on Altered Geek before. They will just every 2 seasons they tend to recast almost all their characters.
Yep.
I think is what Heroes intended to do originally. It's just that they got pigeonholed into people like these characters.
Yeah,
people like Sylar. There's a difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the only character they should have kept.
They should have kept Sylar and the horn. I would have even kept the horn-rimmed glasses guy. But like,
yeah, those two could have carried the whole show.
I just like that was the thing. Like the first season of Heroes, it was great, but when they came back with the second season, it was just like the same people. It was just it made the world that they were creating feel really small. When, the second season should have been like, a brand new set of characters in a completely different location, and maybe they have cameos from the first season, maybe they don't. But it's
I think
kind
the
of
one thing that bummed me out about season 2 is they spent all that time building up a lot of those new characters in season 2 and then just dropped every single one of them when they went to season 3.
Well, they started killing them all off.
Yeah.
Well, the other issue I had with Heroes was that the fact that there was an ongoing comic at the same time, and so characters would jump from the comic to the screen as a cameo, and then you'd never see them again unless you read the comic.
I never read the comic.
Wow, that's pointless.
No, well, that's one of the things I didn't like that about the show, because I'm all for like branding and branching out and everything, but I feel like if your main outlet is television, then you should only keep stuff that's like relevant to that, and not have you want people to go out and buy your comic, sure, but you shouldn't need it to understand what's going on.
No, I mean, it should be just like a companion type thing, like when you watch an animated series and they have an animated series comic that it fits within the timeline, but you don't necessarily need to watch or read one or the other.
Right.
Or like the Archie's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles run, which was, for the most part, the first 4 to 6 issues were all direct script adaptations from the show, and then it went off and did its own thing. So basically established the fact that it's a part of this universe, and then it just went off on a tear on its own. It became really obscure, really awesome, and that's why me and Joe love it so much. Because it's awesome.
All right. Well, let's see. I can share what I've been up to, and then we can talk about some interesting news things that have happened in the last week. Probably just hit on the one that happened today. To keep things brief and not tread on too many people's toes. Was it 2 weeks ago now? 2 weeks ago. Well, actually, it was more like 3 weeks ago. My wife and I went out to dinner, and I just randomly brought up the idea of buying a new car. And her and I had actually been talking about it for a couple months before, and then it just kind of went by the wayside, because it's one of those things whereas if you're going to get a new car, then I want a new car. But we went out to dinner 3 weeks ago, and I was just kind of talking to her. Things at my new job kind of stabilized, and things at my primary job were also going really well. And I was kind of like, I think I might want to get a new car. And I ran it by her as, I could get a Chevrolet Volt. I can get the payment down to the Chevrolet Volt for what it costs me to pay for the gas to put in the Pontiac that I have. And lo and behold, she did not scoff at that. She was actually quite interested in the whole idea. So I found myself 3 days later at the Chevy dealer in town here, and I picked up. I didn't buy it. I leased a 2014 Chevy Volt. And well, in all fairness to her, 2 days later she picked up a 2014 Chevy Cruze. So, but I am really liking the Volt. I've actually gotten a lot of interesting, well, not really interesting feedback. A lot of people actually noticed the car more than I thought that they would. I didn't really think that too many people, I thought they would think that an electric car is just like the dumbest thing on the face of the planet. Personally, I don't think it is, especially after I kind of kept running the numbers on it. But just from an economic standpoint, but who cares about those numbers? It's just a lot of fun to drive. But like Steve and I were talking about it when he's at the theater on Saturday. It's really interesting to drive it because it's an electric car. It is completely silent. If you get in it and you turn the radio off and you turn off like the blowers for like the heating and the air conditioning, it sounds like an isolation chamber. Or it feels like you're in an isolation chamber because that you've turned the car on and that you should hear like an idle noise, but it's just dead silence. And I could only take it for like 2 to 3 minutes before I either have to turn on the fans or I have to, turn the radio back on. Otherwise, I can feel myself starting to go insane. But that's really neat about it. It has all the bells and whistles because like one of the other things about the Volt 2 is that there's really only 2 models for it. There's leather and not leather. And I went with not leather because I've never had leather in a car, but I think with my next one I probably will get leather. It's really nice. The interesting thing is the battery's supposed to get just off the battery you're supposed to get like 30 to 45 miles to the charge. Right now, because it's so cold here in Michigan, I'm only getting like 30 miles to the charge, but that's enough for me to get to work and back without ever having to use gas. And one of the interesting things about it is you can change the drive modes for it. So there's like a normal mode where, you're just supposed to drive the car like you normally would, and you try to go for efficiency and see how long you can make the battery last, so it kind of turns it into a little bit of a game, which is fun. But if you really want to have fun with the car, you can put it in sport mode, which makes the accelerator a little more touchy, and a lot more power gets put into accelerating, which of course, being that it's a battery, and just like every other battery powered device, when you make it do more up front, you're going to drain the battery a lot faster. You can step on the accelerator and it will put your stomach in your chest. It is that same weightless feeling that you get kind of like when you're on a roller coaster or you go over a hump in a car, like it's almost 0G-ish. And I think there's 2 reasons I think that happens with this car and I've never really experienced it in a car. And I have been in muscle cars before. One reason I think that I feel it in this is because there is all the torque that the motor produces goes right to the wheels. None of it is lost. So the car just goes forward. There are no gears. There's no first, second, third, or fourth. It's just you continuously accelerate. So there's no like rev up, stop, switch gears, rev up some more. It's all very smooth and quick. And then the other reason I think that it catches you off guard and causes that effect on your body is because you don't have the sound of the engine revving up. The car just moves forward effortlessly, which is a very weird feeling. But if you're just driving it in normal mode, it feels like just any other car. It's just dead quiet. You can't even tell it's on. Like my wife didn't even know that I was backing out. She was outside and I was backing out of the driveway. And the only reason she knew I was backing out of the driveway is because she could hear the rocks under the tires
Crunching.
as I was pulling out of the driveway. But I really do like it, and that's pretty much what I've been up to, besides just being way too lazy to do off the cuff. But that's something that Dan and I have been having conversations about that behind the scenes, and I talked to Steve about that last Saturday. That's one of the reasons why I'm here on Alter Geek, because I feel like if I know people like to hear from Danner and and if I can
I don't know about me, but they certainly love you.
They love you too. I know that they do. Someone does.
Meh.
Someone does. I
Not
do.
Sean.
I love you.
Yeah.
So, but that's what I've been up to. So I don't really have. Oh, interesting thing. I got off track because I said that a lot of people were they've had questions about the car, because I thought most people would think the car was a joke, but I've had a lot of people just ask me questions about the car, or ask me if they could drive it and stuff like that. Mainly friends at work and stuff like that. And I don't have problems letting people drive the car, just so they can see what it's like. But I went into Staples the other day to buy a pen, and I parked you could see my car from inside the building. And I was standing in line at checkout and just minding my own business, and this older gentleman comes up behind me, and I turn around, I see him there, and I see him looking out in the parking lot, and I'm just minding my own business, and he sees me looking at him, and he goes, "Hey, keep an eye on that Volt out in the parking lot. I want to see who gets in that, because I want to ask him about that car." And I was like. Or he said, I think he said the black car. I said, oh, you mean the Volt? And he goes, yeah. And I said, oh, that's mine. He's like, oh, really? And we just had like a small little conversation about it. It was pretty funny. Just people seem to be more fascinated about it than I thought that they would. And I've also learned, I've actually also spent more time on like forums for the Volt than I ever have for like, I think the only thing that I've spent more time on forums for outside of the Geekcast Radio forums is like the AVS forums for TV research. But one of the things that I was kind of concerned about was getting the Volt to Grand Rapids. Because our friend Joe has said that he would like to drive the car, and I assume Danner would like to try it. Meh. But I was kind of like, well, it has a, the battery in it is good for about 45 miles, and then, it switches over to a generator, which powers the battery, which still powers the car. And so I can get out to Grand Rapids with it, but I was kind of like, well, how do I get it out to Grand Rapids with a charge? Because there is a big difference between driving the car when it's on the battery and driving the car when it's being powered by the electrical generator. And I don't want people's first experience with the car to be driving it on the electrical generator. And I found out just by reading some forums is that there's another mode that you can put the car in, where when you're doing long distance travel, you can actually run off of the electrical generator instead of killing your battery. So it will store and charge the electrical battery while you're on the expressway. And when you get off, you can switch it back to normal mode, and your battery will be fully charged, and then you can do your short round the city trips. Also, apparently, if you leave it in this mode, it also functions more like a regular hybrid does, where it aggressively stores more power on braking, and then you use the battery for takeoff. But once you get up to speed, it switches over to the gas generator. But it's just interesting. I seem to learn something new about the car every day, and I haven't really had that experience with a a car since I started driving. The one thing, and I'm glad it's a lease, that I'm glad that I leased it, is the one thing that kind of worries me about the car, is that when I was pulling out of the dealership, I also all of a sudden realized that my dad and I won't really be able to work on the car like we would if it was a regular car. Because my dad doesn't know about,
Electric cars.
Yes, exactly. So it would be fun. But luckily, everything's covered for it because it's a lease. So, but, all right. Enough boring stuff. Do we want to talk about what was unleashed on the internet today?
I think we can talk about just that to round out the show this week.
Okay.
Trying to keep it light.
So what happened? What happened today? Who wants to spill what we're going to talk about here?
You might not turtly enough for the Turtle Club?
No, not at all. But there were some turtles.
All right,
Definitely
real quick.
some turtles.
Real quick, before we go in depth on anything, yes or no? I just want yes or no's. I just want to go around here real quick. Yes or no? Did you like the trailer, Steve?
Yes.
Danner.
I liked it.
We'll go back to that. Danner.
Yes, I liked it.
I liked it too. Steve, why did you answer yes the way that you did?
I'm still not fond of the turtle designs, although I did. It's their faces. They look like flippin' Goonies.
What's a Goonie look like?
I don't know.
I'm sure we'll finally be able
Goonies.
to end this debate of what a mutated turtle looks like as soon as we get kicking on that mutagen.
I even
get to
don't
that lab right
despise-
now and let's go mutate some turtles and we'll find out what the bone structure of a mutated turtle looks like.
Well, I don't despise the fact that they made them bigger. I mean, yeah, okay, that's I can get behind that. I can get behind, okay, they changed April O'Neil again, which every iteration of Turtles they change her anyway, so it doesn't really matter. The backstory is there, but the appearance changes or the age changes, so that's not a big deal either. The voices, they seem to keep with that. I can't get behind the
Super White Shredder.
I can even get behind him because he's kind of a hard ass. Like that guy kind of plays evil and creepy really well. So I mean, I can see him pulling it off, without the costume and with the costume. But it's something about the faces. They just bother me. It looks like looking at Shrek. And it's more so, and let me preface this. It's more so the Michelangelo.
Is it because they put him front and center?
I think it's because of the way the nose is displayed on him.
Well, I think it's
he looks
nice
like a guy from the hood. He looks like a guy from the hood that's bald and he's wearing an orange bandana.
I think it's nice that they actually have noses now, so we don't have to assume they're all mouth breathers.
They had holes in their face.
When?
In the older ones.
Really?
Yeah.
I never noticed.
They had holes in their face. They just didn't have a pronounced human nose.
I guess I didn't see
that looks like mixed
nose
with a pig. So, but I mean, I think that's the only thing that bothers me is more so their faces. Other than that, I mean, yeah, they threw on body armor, or they threw on clothes, which whatever. But I'm trying to keep an open mind with it. The trailer did have me entertained, so I can't totally complain. Like I said, it's just a design thing that bothers me more than anything else. I think the movie will actually be good.
I mean, I made my piece on Twitter, which was, that's the one thing, and it probably has a lot to do with the fact that I'm an X-Men fan. That I always believe there's open interpretation for anything. That I think if you just get the same old recycled story over and over again, it gets boring. I like it when you try new things and breathe new life. And yes, I know some people are going to be real butthurt about some of the changes to the origin story. I'm more interested in the ride and the fun of things. I liked the Anne Rice adaptations of the vampire movies because they were a little bit different and they didn't follow the books. I've enjoyed what they've done with the X-Men movies, even though as a fan of the comic series, it's never quite been right to me. Even though I saw somebody defending X-Men 3 on Twitter the other day, which did make me vomit.
Who would dare defend that?
Somebody without taste, or somebody who's literally just watched the movies and knows nothing about the comic books.
There's no defending X-Men 3.
It was terrible.
The commentary track for X-Men 3, they don't even defend their own movie. They tear down their own movie.
The only positive thing I will ever say about that movie is I still feel that the the mobile prison scene where Magneto goes to town on that is the only decent use of Magneto's powers in all three of those first movies. Besides that 3-minute scene, that movie was a waste. But we're not talking about X-Men.
Had some really good
I'm
trailers.
just saying that I like seeing people's interpretation of source material and that they put their own spin on it. Is it good all the time? No, not at all. Revenge of the Fallen, case in point, and X-Men 3 is my other case in point. The interpretation of the source material isn't always gold, but at least they're trying. I mean, gold, in my opinion, is the novel Night Watch versus the movie Night Watch. Those two things are not similar at all. They have the base storyline and the characters are the same, but the plot and the story are completely unique between the movie and the book, and both are fantastic. And if you haven't experienced the movie or the book, you should. But I'm excited for the movie just because it looks fun. For some reason, most of the things that Michael Bay's produced, I haven't hated. Stuff he's directed, I've hated, but
Yeah.
things he's produced, I've very rarely hated. So I'm excited. I'm interested in the movie. If only the main reason I'm excited in the movie is because I'm taking Joe with me and I'm going to watch him squirm in his seat the entire time.
I'll also be there for
which
that.
is going to be entertaining within its own rights, because he already just shit all over this movie on Facebook, and I will also reiterate another thing I said on Twitter is, much like judging a book by its cover, you can't judge an entire movie by a 90-second trailer.
Yeah,
and people that do so, you're foolish. And if I'm going to get called out for calling out other people, I'm really okay with it. I do that on off the cuff all the time. And nobody's called me on my shit yet, so bring it on.
I agree with you on the whole like judging a book by its cover thing, because I made the same comment on Twitter. I don't understand how people can judge like a 90 to a 120 plus minute movie based on a 90 to 150 second trailer.
Well, it's just, and it's to listen to everybody complain about the design of the turtles is, I've been hearing it since the original leaks of the statues and everybody complaining about that. And I got to suffer through it every single time they release a goddamn Superman costume. And I'm going to have to suffer through it when they finally release the Batman costume. Is just the incessant whining and bitching because nobody's ever going to be fully happy with what they get. And when people finally when everybody just sits down and agrees that everything looks good, the internet will explode and collapse upon itself. Because holy shit, nobody's going to be happy with anything. And I realize that. And just accept the vision for what it is. These are probably the same people that are upset about the fact that the new Human Torch is going to be black. Get over yourself. Stop being an asshole and just accept the new versions of things. Just embrace it. Take your face and just rub your face in the breasts of creativity and suckle. I'm good now.
I don't know what to say now.
What just happened?
This was you getting mind raped.
I don't, um,
Did I
shoot.
mention I spend a lot of time around little kids and I don't get to talk to adults very often, so I apologize. It just comes out.
That's where the
sometimes.
dirty talk comes from.
No,
Oh.
I can understand a trailer like if it's mismarketed, maybe it doesn't like maybe the trailer doesn't speak to you, or maybe the trailer doesn't like catch your attention. But to like watch a trailer and to pick moments out of context is that is like judging a book by its cover. That's like reading the back panel, like the back little blurb from the book, and then be like, nope. I just can't. I don't know.
I'm okay with it. Like I'm gonna, regardless, I want to see it because I have the nostalgia of the Turtles. Granted, I may dislike. I can dislike their faces. From here to freaking China, it doesn't really matter. That's what they've done. So that's it. Regardless of what I think, it's not changing. So,
But don't you think that's one of those things like when you're in it, it'll go away?
I think and I think that's one of those things too, like what you're saying. It's one of those things where when you're not actively paying attention to it and you're watching the story, it'll go away.
And plus, people were looking for that. They show you the trailer, and you're
looking for problems.
Yeah, you're going to look for problems. You're going to immediately nitpick the character design in every minute detail. I just had to think, when you sit down for however long this movie's going to be, it's kind of like once you see it, you're going to be like, and then after 5 minutes, you're not even going to notice it anymore. I could be completely wrong, but
I mean, I think you're right.
But that depends on how well the CG
just
comes off.
Yeah, that's I think one of the other.
It's Weta though,
concerns.
so I have faith.
So I mean, who knows? Only time will tell.
Yeah, you guys don't like the design of the new Turtles? Go screw yourselves. It's by Weta.
That can't be your answer for everything.
It is my answer for everything. It's Weta. It's not ILM. It's Weta. Get over yourself. It'll be fine.
Weta is better. I'll stop now.
That's what she said.
Well, now you know our thoughts.
And knowing is half the battle.
Yeah. Now you know our thoughts on Turtles.
And I was gonna say, and the other bright side also is Turtles looks way better than that cinematic abortion known as Hercules that'll be coming out.
Oh, don't. We're not getting into that.
Oh, can we? Oh, I know what I want to do. Can we stop getting mad at Michael Bay?
No.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't mind getting
no,
mad.
No. We're not going into Michael Bay defense mode here.
No.
I will not listen to another rant about you and how much you love military porn and all that crap in Michael Bay movies. I'm not sitting through another one of these. I've heard these way too often.
No. I was going to say that. What I was going to say is, like, I can understand, like, if you, like, getting mad at a movie or disliking a movie that Michael Bay has directed. But Michael Bay's a busy guy. I don't really think he had as much hands-on with, like, Turtles as, like, say, just his production company did.
He's just a producer.
Right, and I just don't, like, everyone's like, Michael Bay's Ninja Turtles. It's not his Ninja Turtles. It's the guy that directed Battle LA's Ninja Turtles. So,
ooh, don't say it like that.
Can we just, like...
Oh, that hurts. Oh, Battle LA.
He also did something else that was really good. What did he do? It's like Jonathan Liebesman or something like that. He did something
IMDb
else.
that shit.
I'm not going to do that right now. We're in the middle of a show.
Fine, you talk, I'll do it.
But I don't really... I think he did the remake of... Well, that's not going to help you out either. He did the remake of Clash of the Titans, which was only bad because of the post-conversion 3D. I mean, it was a good movie, but it wasn't as bad in 2D as it would be in 3D. But I don't know. I feel like when people, you see it all the time on Twitter, it's not Jonathan Liebesman's Ninja Turtles. It's Michael Bay's Ninja Turtles. No, it's not even his. It's like Platinum Dune's Ninja Turtles. Like, come on. And yeah, sure, the studio doesn't help because they put Michael Bay's name in the freaking credits in the Transformers freaking sparkle mode.
Ooh, he did Darkness Falls.
I didn't see that.
It was okay. He did Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, which I actually thought was pretty decent.
See, I like that too.
Oh, I lied. He did the beginning, not
Oh.
the one I thought was excellent.
Well, but,
Anyways,
yeah, that's what
Well,
I'm
go
saying.
ahead, finish.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. It's like, can we just give credit where credit's due? Like, this is not Michael Bay's Turtles. This is, Platinum Dunes. I mean, obviously it's his company, but that's just one of the things that irks me when people just point the finger in one direction and they just keep like riding it. And it's not really his fault.
I would blame part of it on the writing, because wasn't Transformers Odyssey and Kurtzman?
Well, the first one was too.
The first one was,
three
and the first 10 minutes of 2 was.
Yeah, well, 2 Michael Bay doctored, so that's completely different.
That's because the writer's strike happened. The first 10 minutes were written by them, because if you notice, the quality of the opening sequence in Revenge of the Fallen is pretty awesome, with the exception of the twins. And then the rest of the movie is just a cluster.
Which I know I've said this before. Can we all admit that the twins would have been better if it was Will Smith
and Martin Lawrence, of course.
Yes. Okay.
I would agree with that.
That would have redeemed the entire 2 characters.
Okay.
Just bad boys and robot.
I know I put that out there every time we mention Revenge of the Fallen.
That would have fixed that movie. If you would have done that and then taken the balls off of Devastator, that movie would have been way better.
This is true.
You just get a neuter Devastator. That would have fixed 20% of my problem with that movie.
So, next week, before we're going to wrap up here in a second, but for next week, I would like to see if we can get the fans or the listeners and fans to submit any and all questions.
I like that idea.
It doesn't matter what it is.
A user-generated show.
I just want to try something new. So any and all questions, throw them at us. Doesn't matter what topic, anything. Just throw them out there on the forum, in the email, whatever. Just throw them out there, and maybe we can do, we can add a segment, or at least have like filler in case there isn't some newsworthy thing that we care to talk about.
No question is too outlandish, and no topic is taboo.
Nope. So hopefully you've enjoyed this episode of Altered Geek Unplugged. Maybe we brought it back around to what it used to be. Maybe we didn't. Maybe you hate it. We don't know. We'll find out eventually in the comments.
I'm sure we will find out.
Steve, how can they submit their questions and get in touch with us and all that jazz?
Well, they can contact us in the following ways. You can email us, feedback@geekcastradio.com. You can visit the website post at geekcastradio.com. You can get a hold of us on Facebook or Twitter by searching @geekcastradio. On Twitter, you can do #AlteredGeek. My Twitter handle is @SCP21, and yours is?
Mine is @Boothninja81.
And mine is @ArtDanner.
So, as always, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks. See you next time.
Bye.
Au revoir.